podcast is brought to you exclusively by the Rad Rob Radio Network. Imagine a place where mental health, resilience, sports, and the power to never give up all come together. This show is about life. It's about mental health. It's about bouncing back stronger than ever. This is Reset and Rise to the Unbreakable with Amanda Moore.
Hey guys, welcome back to Reset and Rise to the Unbreakable with Amanda Moore. I am your host, Rob Francois. Thank you.
You suck, you jackass.
That's more like it. This is episode number 30. We have a very special guest, but before we bring him in, let me bring in the host with the most, the woman with the I don't know. I try to do something different than I normally do, and I usually have this big old spiel on Straight Up 5, and then I introduce, but I have nothing. Here's my very good friend, Miss Amanda Moore. What's going on, Amanda?
Not much. That was a good effort. I like it. I appreciate it. But
something different, something new, just to spice things up a little bit.
I like it. It does remind me of Straight Up 5. So maybe you need to come up with a catchy phrase. I've been working on mine for the end of the show too.
I will do that. Well, yeah, I still like the same great place, same crappy time. I like that. Actually, we should put that on a t-shirt. But anyway, how's it going?
It's going good. Had some technical difficulties before, and I don't know if it's a way of someone to tell me to slow down because I've been on the go all day long.
Yeah.
Or if tonight's guest, I told him yesterday, I'm not I'm excited, but I'm also nervous because this is a guy who, when you're sitting and you're just doom scrolling on Facebook or Instagram and you're watching reels after reels after reels. Well, Bryan, Bam Marshall's reel had popped up from the Wild Chaos podcast, had popped up on my reels one day, and I found it very intriguing. And he had it was a law enforcement related reel on there.
Yep.
And so I clicked on his podcast and I just started following and listening. And it's another one of those guests where I reached out and I did not ever think I would hear back from him. And to be honest, when I heard back from him, he was very straightforward, just right to the point. Kind of comes off like, are they a nice person or are they being like kind of rude?
So,
but no, he was actually super cool, down to earth. He's a very busy guy. So once you get in contact with him, like you better be on your phone to stay in contact with him type of thing. He's involved in so many things. But tonight's episode is one for anyone who's ever lost their purpose or has felt like they were functioning but not okay, or wondered if it's too late to rebuild. Bryan Bam Marshall is a perfect example of that. And I could not have picked a better guest for this conversation to have with him tonight. He is the founder of Bam Nation. He's a Marine vet. He's a podcast host. Him and his wife own a sourdough bread company that they make homemade bread. If you haven't checked it out, I'll have him plug it, I guess, on the show. I can't wait to try it. It's going to be so good. But anyways, if you want to bring in Bam, as most people know him, we can bring him in and get started.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our very special guest, one and only Bryan Bam Marshall. What's going on, Bammer?
Hey, how are you guys doing? I haven't been called Bammer in years. That's hilarious.
Where did that come from anyways? Where'd the Bam come from?
It was my old Marine Corps call sign. I ended up getting stuck having to carry a sledgehammer around, and I was the only one. I grew up in upstate New York, chopping wood, firewood all summer was like my job that my dad just designated me to do. So I was really good at swinging a hammer or a sledgehammer or an axe. And so, yeah, in the Marine Corps, it just kind of transitioned into it. So whenever they would need like a breacher or something knocked off or something hit, they would always call on the radio, "Where's Bam Bam?" Because it was just like Pebbles and Bam Bam from the Flintstones. And then it just stuck and it never went away. And so then when I got out of the Marine Corps, then by that point, my whole call sign, everybody was talking, it was Bam, 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 then it transitioned to Bam. And so when I got out and I actually started Instagram, I thought it was like a photo editing app. I didn't even know what Instagram was. And it said, your handle, your name. And I was like, Bam, Bam. Then I put 0069. It was the last 4 digits of my phone number at the time didn't even know what it was. And then, yeah, it just kind of turned into what it is. So yeah, it's an old
Just
call
stuck?
sign that just it's stuck and never went away. So then when I started working trade shows and doing all this other stuff, then people would come up to the booth. They'd be like, "Hey, I'm here looking for Bam." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Bryan." They're like, "No, I need Bam." And I'm like, I got to talk to Bam. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Bam, but like I'm Bryan." And so I just gave up on Bryan. Literally don't all my business cards, emails, everything of existence is Bam. And so, yeah, I just gave
So
up
it's
on my
like an
actual
alter
name.
ego for you, or multiple personalities. You can roll with whatever that
Yeah,
day.
exactly. Yep, exactly.
Well, for anyone meeting you for the first time, who is Bam Marshall today?
Oh God, that's a loaded question.
Uh,
First
Short
and
answer.
foremost, I am a follower of Christ. Back into my journey, which is in a huge part of my life right now. I am a husband to my best friend. I'm a girl dad. I'm a not retired veteran, but a Marine, did 8 years in the Marine Corps, and I'm an entrepreneur. We've started. My oldest daughter is the producer of the Wild Chaos podcast. And my youngest daughter, she's the kind of the head baker of our bakery. And so, yeah, it's kind of where my life has transitioned. If anybody has ever known me prior to what you guys have known me, they would never believe that any of this would even be going on in my life, just because of how wild and out of control I used to be. And so I've kind of been domesticated over the years and kind of calmed down a little bit. So yeah, this is
Yeah.
where we're at now. Yep.
What do you think people assume about you that's completely wrong?
Ooh, that's a great question. Damn, right out of the gate with that. Um, that I don't. Okay, that's I want to preface by saying this. I don't give a shit about most things when it comes to drama, when it comes to just things that affect me, but I care so much about helping people. Like, I've had a charity for over 12 years now, giving back to the veteran and law enforcement community. I just launched a community for men, to give them a place to be able to grow and become better, all around human being. And so, yeah, I really honestly, where I catch a lot of people is how much I really want to help and just guide people in any way I can.
Yeah, yeah. And let's rewind, because your story didn't start with a podcast or a nonprofit. It started with you being 18 years old, making a decision that changed everything. What's the
Yeah.
one thing that the Marine Corps gave you and the one thing it took from you?
It took my youth for sure. It took my whole entire. It took 8 years of that era of trying to figure yourself out, but it gave me so many tools. I have really different opinions on the military now. Obviously, we know our government and the state of where we are as far as fighting wars and the truth about everything. So I have mixed emotions on the military, but the military is also an incredible stepping stone for your future. I have my family and my daughters and my wife because of the military. All the hard work, the discipline, the attention to detail, all that little shit that you really just don't realize in the military that they drive into you all day, every day. I carried a lot of that out of the military, but at the same time, when I got out, I left the majority of that era with the military at the same time. And so, yeah, it's an incredible way. It made me a man really quick, and that's what it'll do to you, especially in the Marine Corps and then the job that I was at the time. There's no like half-assing anything. It was all or nothing. So yeah, it
Yeah.
gave me a lot of skills, tons of skills.
What did the structure and brotherhood mean to you being in the military?
You don't really realize it at the time because you're surrounded by it. You got your boys with you 24/7. I was in a pretty tight knit team, and they're there. They're with you all through your problems, your family issues. We're young kids. We're figuring out life on our own. I was very fortunate in that time to come into the Marine Corps with this group of guys, and we did a bunch of we were with each other for almost everybody's first 4 years. Like, this group of us came into the Marine Corps. We all stayed together. We deployed together several times. And then after that 4 years, a lot of guys kind of got out or went our different directions. It means you don't realize what it means until you're out. And then when a lot of guys, and that's where a lot of veterans I feel get caught up, is in that loneliness and then missing the brotherhood. And that's not even for vets. I feel a lot of athletes, a lot of first responders, everybody, when you're working with people and you're tight knit and even construction. I have a lot of buddies that run construction companies, and they're in the trenches every day. And then when you transition or you move on to certain things, you're so used to having boys by your side to be able to talk and hear and laugh and get just the shit talked on you and the bantering, and then it just goes quiet. And so that's when you really realize what it meant to you to have that camaraderie, the brotherhood. If there's any issues, you got dudes that have your back at any second. That's where it's a weird transition, and a lot of guys have a hard time with that, is because they, you go from a child, 17, 18 years old, joining the military, then you're surrounded by 30, 40, 50 guys almost your whole entire time. And then you get into these tight units, and then you deploy together, and then you're living with these guys 24/7. And then it just all kind of pulled apart, and a lot of guys get back and get out, and they miss that. And so, yeah, it means a lot. It's a huge part of your military experience, at least for me, was the brotherhood and being surrounded by like-minded individuals all day, every day.
Did you have a question, Rob?
Yeah, I was just actually want to know what made you decide you wanted to go into the military. Just something you always want to do, or was what made the final decision?
No, I was actually supposed to play college football. I had almost all the Northeastern schools looking at, and I ranked really high as far as in high school, with prospects going to play college ball. I'm from upstate New York originally, and once the World Trade Centers, fell, that was one of those I got to defend my country deals. And so, yeah, I was actually on spring break with a girlfriend and her family at the time when the war was kicking off. And we were watching a news interview or listening to a news interview, and all I could hear was the reporter on a satellite phone. I didn't know what it was at the time, but obviously after I joined, I figured out what everything was, but it was enough for me to be like, that's what I want to do. There was a reporter, he was in a Humvee, and all you could hear was these Marines just screaming and just yelling, and you could hear this machine gun just going, just do, 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 and you could hear the brass and the links falling on the hood of the Humvee, inside the Humvee from the turret, which I didn't know what any of it was, but just hearing that, and I'll never forget, like I even get goosebumps just kind of reliving that moment. But I remember sitting in South Carolina, we were in some trailer park on vacation, and I was like, fuck, that's what I have to do. Like that, I need that, because I also come from a really small town on the Canadian border. It's technically a village, and it's a black hole. If you don't get out of there, you're stuck forever. Like every generation just does the same shit. You're painting houses, laying brick, tarring roofs in the summertime, shingling, all that stuff, right? And I was like, man, if this college doesn't work out for me, I'm just going to end up on the same bar stool that my dad was at my age. Right. Obviously my dad's not a drinker now, but it's part of that history of being in town. And so, yeah, when the war broke out and I heard that, I was like, oh, that's my out. That's my out of here. I get to defend my country, and I want to go and just fuck shit up. And so, yeah, I kind of got home, and that was it. The seed was planted, and that was it. Like, I'm one of those people, once it gets in my mind, it's never leaving until I accomplish it. And so, yeah, I joined the Marine Corps, and off I went.
I'm the same way when it comes to that. What part of New York were you from?
So you have all the Great Lakes, and then so you have Lake Ontario. Lake Ontario empties into the St. Lawrence River. So I'm literally at the mouth of the St. Lawrence River that travels all the way to obviously the ocean. So yeah, right on the Canadian border, an hour and a half north of Syracuse, I guess it would be. It's called Clayton, New York. So
okay, where I'm from. Because I used to vacation. I'm from Connecticut originally. I used to vacation in Lake George. Love that absolute area. Just like an hour from Albany. It's just a beautiful place. So when you said village, I was like, I wonder if it's the same place. But there's so many places up in upstate New York that nobody's ever heard of. So yeah,
I've never even been to New York. I want to go there sometime. Not right now. Not right now.
I mean, it's not just a city. There's so much beautiful land up in New York.
When he talks about being from a small village or town, I was the same way. I left my small town right out of high school because there was nothing there. Literally, if you still ask to this day, there's pig farms, bowling, bars, and grocery stores. That's about all there is. So, yeah. So, when you look back, though, Bryan, how did the Marines shape you as the man that you've become today?
Honest to God, I've probably become 3 or 4 different versions of the man I was that the Marine Corps created, to be honest with you. The Marine Corps created a very hateful, angry, not very loving, emotional person, to be completely honest with you. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. And then that took a lot of years of my wife chipping away, me making huge mistakes, and obviously growing and maturing. So I'll be honest with you, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was not a very good version of myself that I am now. And I think a lot of guys battle at the same time. And so, yeah, but it created this man, I'm using air quotes for that. And so it was, I thought was a good version of me because I joined the Marine Corps, went to war, defended my country, and did all the right things that I felt I should do as a man, but it didn't create the man who I am now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
But it laid a lot of foundations. It built incredible pillars. It just took years of fine tuning and realizing, okay, I have this foundation that the military built, gave me incredible skills and the ability to be able to have a mindset that I'm not going to quit on anything that I start. And so, but obviously over the years of maturing and growing, I've definitely fine tuned that to be the man I am, who I am today.
Yeah, I always find it interesting when we've had veterans on the show, we always ask about if they feel like they lost their identity when they retired from the military or when they became a veteran and they were done serving their country by going over in deployments. Do you ever feel like you lost your identity when you got out?
Oh God, no. I think most veterans probably should lose their identity, to be honest with you. I think a huge problem in the veteran, law enforcement, first responder world is that their identity becomes their job, especially vets and cops. And so that is where, working with law enforcement, I've worked with thousands, we've helped thousands of law enforcement, we've helped even more veterans over the last decade plus. And I truly feel the problem with the majority of veterans in law enforcement is the fact that their identity becomes what they were. So I'm a huge advocate on pushing these guys to lose their identity. You need to find a new identity after war, after law enforcement, after all this stuff, because they're stuck in that mindset. And I don't know how, if you guys have ever met these types of vets, but these guys that are just so rah, oh, the military, fucking, and it's like, and then you talk to them and they're telling these war stories, which is great. Guys need to vet and do all this good stuff, but they talk about it like it was 2, 3, 4, or 5 years ago. But in reality, it was 10, 15 plus years ago. And it's like, okay, that was great. But we're still living in that time. How do we start to develop ourselves? What's our new identity? Is it being an entrepreneur? Is it being a father? Is it being a better husband? Like those are the identities that I left. When I got out of the military, I hated it. I hated every fucking thing about the military. At that time, I was just tainted. I didn't want anything to do with it. I had a really shitty job when I was getting out, so it left a bad taste in my mouth. So it was really easy for me to transition out of the military because I wanted nothing to do with it. Like when I went to work, I wore civilian clothes to work. I put my uniform on at work and I took it off and I came home as a civilian. And so that's where, when it comes to identity, I wish most guys would lose their identity as the veteran card, the disabled vet, the grumpy old veteran card, and they start working on themselves because that's where their mindset is. And we're stuck in 2004, 2005 era of these combat vets. And that's all they're living with. And so, yeah, so for me, getting back to your question, I ditched the identity of a veteran. Like I'm proud now, but I was, I guess, kind of fortunate that when I got out, I was like gone, started a whole new life. And then I moved on with it, which has helped, project my growth, I guess, as who I am today, as far as not hanging on to that past. I'm proud now. I love that I served my country, but I never hung on to like, this is who I am. This is what I'll always be as a Marine. I'm not one of those guys. Even when I was in the Marine Corps, I'd tell people I work construction. Like it was just a job for me.
I love that though. Like we've never heard that from any of the vets on the show.
No, we haven't.
That wasn't your identity going in. Like you were a completely different person before, different person during. And it's the after to where they can't let it go, where, vets get depressed or they get suicidal. They feel like they don't have a purpose, which is why we have so many outreach groups now to help vets when they get out to try to transition back into civilian life. Cause I'm sure it's difficult, especially with those that were in combat, and saw things that you can't ever unsee and you can't ever forget. And you get home and your wife's telling you to like do the dishes and take out the trash. Like fuck off. Right. Like, did you know what I did before? Like I'm sure, and I don't know, cause I was never in that position, but I'm sure it has to be hard to make that transition. So to lose your identity of what you just were, that's brilliant, dude. That's legit.
This is how I explain it to people, especially civilians. Like we all know that Varsity Blues, the guy that wears his Letterman jacket down at the bar, like the Napoleon, I could throw a football over that mountain. Bet you I can't. It's the same shit, right? It's the same exact mindset as these cops, law enforcement, or first responders, veterans. It's like, I talk to these guys sometimes, because we do incredible trips all over the country, and taking these guys and getting them a new purpose and starting a fire within them again has been our big mission. And I'll talk to these guys and they're telling me these things, and they're so just consumed in emotion over things. And I'm like, man, like, when did this happen? He's like, oh, 2005. And I'm like, bro, I get it. And everybody, right? Like, the most traumatic thing I've ever been through was losing my brother. I was standing at my brother's feet when he died. Like, it was horrible. And that was only a few years ago, but it's everybody experiences trauma differently. And I get PTSD 100%. I'm not downplaying, and I'm not throwing casting shade on anybody that has any trauma, PTSD, or anything like that. But when we're doing is talking about that, we're living in that, we never find a way to, like, okay, cool, that was a chapter, but they just consume themselves with it. And then that's all their life is. And then now they're these vets, or I'm at the VA every single week. And it's like, well, what the fuck are you going to the VA for every single week? Like, like, you can't depend on this stuff. We have to start. You're not a soldier anymore. You're not a Marine anymore. Granted, a Marine wants a Marine, always a Marine bullshit. But it's just like, okay, who can we be now? Let's start focusing on starting a new chapter, starting something new. Hey, let's focus on our attitude and our anger and finding a purpose. And that's what's going to help us build our families. And then now our children are watching us, and you're not watching you be this grumpy old vet. And like, you look at these Vietnam vets, it's like, they're still living in the Vietnam era. And so It's like, okay, do I want to be that vet? Absolutely not. It was a huge reason I got out. I was looking at all my senior leaders, and I'm like, man, I don't want to be anything. They're all divorced. They're on their third, fourth marriage. They have no relationship with their kids. And that's what I saw. I was like, okay, I don't want this. I want to grow a family. I want to be happy. And the military just wasn't for me. And so that's where I was like, when I signed my final paperwork, turned it in, poof, took the uniform off, and that was it. So I think a big thing with these charities and organizations and everything that's going on these days, they're just enabling. Tell me about what happened. Oh, you got blown up in 2005. You lost your friend. We've all lost people. We've all lost loved ones, and we all managed to cope with it. So why are these vets not able to cope with it? I lost my best friend, got blown up. We lost several dudes on our deployment, not in my platoon, but in our battalion. Yeah. But my best friend that I went to high school with, he was killed immediately in Iraq. And I started an organization in remembrance and in his name. Here we are 12 years later, helping thousands of veterans because of me losing my best friend. So it's all your mindset. And instead of me sitting there dwelling, man, Lewis, 15, 20 years ago, I lost my best friend. I'm like, dude, my boy signed that dotted line. He did everything that his grandfather did, his father did, his mother did. Unfortunately, he lost his life. He served, but it was a generational thing. They're proud as hell of him. So why am I going to sit here and mope around for the next 15 years over my boy? Now, I get there's a healing time and a time to move on from things, but eventually you have to start finding a new purpose.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and for a lot of veterans, the answer isn't just come home and adjust. Sometimes it's go back and you did. So why Afghanistan after the Marine Corps? What was it? Purpose, adrenaline, or something else for you?
A lot of it was adrenaline. I missed that rush of being overseas. And at the same time, when I got out, I was actually in the process of re-enlisting. I was at my 8-year mark. I was putting in another 4 years. I was supposed to be going MARSOC, which is like the special forces above the recon team in the Marine Corps, and got selected, went through all my whole entire process. And then they came out with an order stating that they weren't taking any E6s or any E5s and above. And I just pinned on for E6. So I got my package pulled. They're like, hey, you can't go MARSOC anymore. So that was it. So it was like a last minute, like, well, fuck that. If I can't go MARSOC, I'm out. That was the only reason I was staying in. And so I literally went from getting my orders denied months before I was right. I mean, I think I had 4 months left when I realized that, oh shit, I'm getting out now. Like, I came home one day and told my girlfriend at the time, now wife, I was like, hey, I'm out. Like, they denied my orders. She's like, what are you going to do? And I straight up told her my words verbatim. I'll flip burgers at In-N-Out if I have to. I'm done. Like, I'm not staying in any longer. And so right as I was getting out, there was a big contract with the U.S. Embassy in Afghan. And I got approached and they're like, hey, we got an opportunity to come over here and we can do some executive security around the country and have some fun. I was like, fuck, sign me up. Like, that's my jam. And so, yeah, that was kind of like helped me transition as far as being able to get bills paid off, debt paid off, and to start my life. But I went straight to freaking Afghan doing it. So,
yeah. What was the internal battle you were fighting back then that nobody saw, perhaps?
Man, that was a really walking away from the military. Where I think a lot of guys get trapped into the military is having that medical, having a guaranteed paycheck, that your wife and kids are on TRICARE, they're taken care of, and that stuff's terrifying, and that's where I think a lot of guys, it traps them. And then that's where the misery and them just being just unhappy with their career because they feel trapped because the benefits and the pay and all that good stuff. So for me, I was willing to walk from it all. It was terrifying. I mean, there was a point where we were counting change to try to pay, to keep the lights on because of that transition period. So I understand the struggles of getting out. I didn't just get out and have all this money saved because I went through a horrible divorce actually, and she took me for everything. So when I got out, I left with nothing. Like I didn't have a savings. I had nothing. And so I didn't even have furniture. My ex took all that shit. So I literally started life fresh. And so, yeah, that was like a big thing for for me is providing. Now I got this chick, we got a kid. Oh, what the hell am I going to do? But I'm done with the military. Like there's no way I can continue to do this. I was just at that point where I'm like, okay, I don't want the future here. So yeah, it was terrifying, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I'm going to use that as motivation. Like I can't just sit here and I'm not going to be miserable because I'm one of those people. I preach, if you don't like it, it's up to you to change it or shut the fuck up. Yeah. You can't sit here and bitch about, because that's what I was doing. I was starting to bitch about it. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't like put my uniform on. I was like, okay, I'm one of these people. If I don't like this, I got to change it. And so that's where it was like a quick knee-jerk reaction, like, oh shit, I guess I'm getting out now. And so, but I'm not going to just settle and stay in the Marine Corps just for the benefits. So yeah, it was a major battle internally as far as just being a man and having to provide for my wife and kid at the time. That was like, okay, now what? I'm thrown into this relationship. I got a kid. What the hell are we going to do? And so, yeah, that was a major, like, come to Jesus moment. Like, I got to figure some shit out. And then obviously the Afghan contract came up and I was like, all right, we can make some good money, get some debt paid off and put some money in the bank, which didn't really happen. So,
and then in 2014, your story shifted because you didn't just heal yourself. You started to build something that would change other people's lives as well, which was Wishes for Warriors. What was the real reason you co-founded Wishes for Warriors?
Man, so I had a bunch of buddies. So back during the early days, excuse me, of guys getting blown up and men and women, all the injuries they were doing, I had buddies of mine that were in the hospital on Pendleton and all over the place. I had a really good buddy of ours that my really good buddy of mine got blown up. He lost both his legs. I mean, he took ball bearings that went into his groin, ripped out his colon. Yep. I mean, the guy just got tore up. Wow. And so his mom ended up reaching out. I flew back to the East Coast, took a couple of buddies with me. We all met up. And we took this, it was the worst thing you could probably have ever done for this guy in this stage. And I didn't know then. This was the first time, like, oh, our boy's going to kill himself. We got to help him. So we just went, scooped him out of his house, took him to strip clubs, got him wasted, everything that you probably should not have done at that stage and his mental stage, right? So, but I saw what it did. Like he just saw the boys. He saw we were there for him, and his mom's letting me know afterward, like his attitudes coming around, because we stayed several days with them and just hung out for a week and just to boost his morale back up. So I'm home and I'm sitting there and I'm watching all my buddies just rotting in these hotel rooms, in these hospital rooms. Their lives have been changed. And so I wanted to do something. I wanted to be able to help. And so when I got out of the military, I ended up starting an executive security company and built it into a very large company. And that gave me the freedom and the finances. And I'm like, man, this is my time. This is how I can help give back to my boys. And so, yeah, my goal was to help like 4 or 5 vets a year. I just want to take some guys out. Hunting is my passion. Outdoors is my life. So I was like, I could just take these guys with me. I have all these opportunities to go on hunts and I'm all over the place anyways. I'll just raise some money and take a vet with me whenever I go. Well, that very quickly kind of snowballed into dozens of programs, thousands of veterans years later. And, I felt this urge. I'm like, I see the community and I'm one of those, I'm very, very into, if I see a problem and I can fix it, I'm going to fix it. And I don't need anybody's help. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to contribute to it because I can't bitch about things. And so, yeah, I came home. I was actually on a hunting trip up in Northern California. I drove home to the wife and I was like, hey, I'm going to start a charity. And she's like, okay, like, where did this come from? And I was like, I just want to help some guys. So yeah, we got on LegalZoom, filled out the paperwork and got our 501c3. And yeah, and years later, here we are. We're actually retiring it this spring. We'll be done with it officially. It's been a great chapter and a great run, but yeah, it's time for us to focus on the family. But that's kind of where that all started, was watching these guys. I mean, I'm going to the hospital and picking my buddies up, and they got sutures, like their wounds are still seeping, and they got stitches everywhere. Guys are growing skin grafts and got patches and bandages everywhere. And I'm like hiking these guys up mountains, and I'm like, man, this is. And I saw what it did, and so I just started putting it out there on social and raising money, and one thing led to another, and here we are over a decade later, and thousands of vets later.
You just went to Mexico on a hunting trip, correct?
No, we're on the Mexican border. That was
border.
Texas, but yeah.
Did you take veterans with you on that trip, or is that just a solo
Not
trip?
on that. No, that was a buddy and I trip. It was an old friend of mine, and he had a sheep tag, so we went down and helped him kill out a big ram down there. So no, but that's I've done that a million times with a bunch of vets and all. I mean, I've carried guys up and down mountains on packs that were amputees. I mean, we've had them on sleds, dragging them through the woods. I mean, we've did an obstacle course with a triple amputee. It took us like 11 hours to complete it. We had harnesses, and it was one of the roughest things I've ever done. But just anything that these vets would come to us. That's why we called it Wishes for Warriors. These guys would come to us with a wish and be like, man, I wish I could do this again, since being wounded body or mind. And
it's almost like make a wish for a kid, but it's make a wish for a vet.
100%. 100%. And so, whatever these guys would come to us with, we would figure out how to do it. Like a triple amputee wanted to run a Tough Mudder. That was not my choice to do. I was definitely voting against it, but we made it happen. And we ended up carrying this guy. We ran his ass the whole entire course. He completed every single obstacle. And it was life-changing. And then craziest thing about that event, as we're running, we're carrying him. We actually have this all on GoPro. His corpsman that was with him on that deployment when he got blown up that saved his life was running the same Tough Mudder, but started hours after us and just happened to catch us. And as he's running by, he's like, Galvan, and they have this moment in the middle, and then he's like, get on, dude, and like throws the vet, his name's Eric, throws Eric on his back and just takes off, and like got this whole crowd cheering. And it was just one of those, like, I call it God shit. Like, there's no other way that ever should have happened, that the woman that saved his life overseas just happens to be running the same Tough Mudder and pass us and recognize him. So it was pretty cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, now here's something I think people don't talk about enough. When you build something that big and you pour yourself into it for years, what happens when that chapter ends?
You start a podcast, you start a bakery, and you start a community for men. That's what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens. That's awesome.
It's been a really good run, and I haven't really even put it out on my own social yet that we're retiring the organization, but the veteran community's changed a lot. And to run a charity how we've run it, we run it out of our house. I don't have corporate. We don't have overhead. Like, I've done everything we've done in I think we were like 8 or 9 years in before we even started drawing any money from it as a salary, because you get to a certain point where you have to. And so, but we were $1 in, $1 out for almost a decade. And so we run it, like I said, we have it at our house. Our expenses are extremely low. So every penny we raise, it goes so much farther. And so it's been able to provide so much to the veteran community, but it also takes up a ton of time because I don't have all the paid staff. I don't have like a huge corporate office that these people are running things. It's my wife and I and some incredible volunteers that have been with me. Some of them were the vets that we helped in the early days, ended up jumping on and being volunteers. And so with the veteran community changing, lots happened. There's so many organizations. And so I was sitting one day and I'm like, God, man, like I want to do a bunch for me. I've turned down so many opportunities in the growth for our own family and myself because I give all of my time and energy into the veteran community. So it just kind of was one of those come to Jesus moments where I'm like, man, I just want to take our life and our finances and financial freedom to the next level. And then obviously having a charity tied to you is extremely hard. And then also the image, like where I want to go and where we got growing. I don't want people misconstrued.
Uh-oh.
Dang it.
I know.
It was just getting good. Why do we always have trouble with it's almost like we're cursed sometimes.
Okay, let me message him.
Yeah, I don't know if he knows. He might still be talking. That's live TV, folks.
Should I tell him just to rejoin the link?
Just bounce out and jump back in. But I did have a follow-up off of that. Anyways, let me take him off the screen because it looks funny. There we go. Anyways, it's always hard to transition when you lose your guest, but
it's okay.
Enjoying it so far though. Like he's a super, super cool dude. Very, very smart. I do like his idea of changing your identity.
Yeah, we haven't heard that from any veterans yet. That's
At all.
quite interesting because most of the time when you talk to veterans, like they want to keep that identity because that's all they've really known for many, many years.
Yep.
But it's interesting for him talking about moving forward with your life and moving on to being a better person, not just for yourself, but for your family, your spouse, whoever else is around you is forming a new identity and not being that person.
It was like the intent of your question too. Like it was a complete like 180. Like
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready for that. And I do like that because that is something I've never heard before. And I mean, he's absolutely right. Like, why would you want to keep carrying that same old, baggage? Like that was your job. You served your country. You're done with it. Move on to your next chapter. And a lot of people can't do that. So,
yeah. I just messaged him. We'll see what he talks or what he does, but that's weird. Everything was working fine. But I told him to go back out and go back in. We'll see if we can get him back on. But
he is
yeah,
back, I don't see his camera on, so I don't know if he's having. Let's see.
Camera issues.
Bam, can you hear us? Nope. All right, let's see if we can figure it out.
Okay. Anyways, he's involved in so much stuff. It's crazy just how his whole life has just transpired to one task to the next. And like he said, once he gets his mind set on something that he wants to do, he goes for it and doesn't give up until it's done. So a lot of us are, I wouldn't say a lot of us, but there's quite a few people I know like that they have a task in front of them and they want to do it until it's done. And then there's people like me that have 5 million tasks written down and I try to do a little bit of all of it.
I'm the same way. Well, I say that, but I'm wrong. I'm a procrastinator. I have a lot of good ideas that I want to do. I just don't do it. I'm supposed to be launching another podcast called Liberty or Death, focusing on events of today and from the conservative Christian side. And I have all kinds of guests that want to be on it, and I haven't launched it yet. I've got plenty of time. I haven't been working since July. But I'm just a procrastinator, and it's unfortunate. But it's like, Bam, just dropping Witches for Warriors, and then moving on to Bam Nation, doing his podcast, the Bread Company. Like,
do you follow his podcast?
It's so good. Yes,
it is really good. Like he's had some phenomenal guests on there lately, and some of the stories are wild. Like literally, they fit his podcast name show, but it's wild. It's wild to me how I just ran across his podcast because I don't watch like a lot of reels, and the reels I get are more like geared towards females. Mm-hmm. But there's a few podcasts I follow, and so his just happened to pop up. It must have been in my algorithm, something that I was talking to somebody about, or I looked up. I don't know. Social media is funny how it works, but do we have him back yet? I messaged him, but
he's here, but his camera's not on, so check too. Bam. Oh, there he is.
Okay.
Yeah, give me 1 second. He's fixing his camera.
Okay.
There we go.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine, man.
So much for this professional studio. We lost Wi-Fi in our whole entire house, so I'm running off.
Oh, well, it's not our. I said the same thing last week. It's not our first rodeo. Probably won't be our last. We've had
like the third or fourth.
Yeah, we're like 3 or 4 episodes. I think we're gonna be good for like 10 more episodes now. So, well,
sorry about that.
You're okay. So all the while that all of this stuff is happening in life with you, you're also dealing with real life business pressure, money stress, and trying to stay grounded as a husband and a father.
Yes,
were there any healthy or unhealthy coping mechanisms that you used once you came home and, as you would say, changed your identity or started to change your identity? I know you work out, so that's a healthy coping mechanism for the stress in life.
I mean, I did. That's honestly a big one. Recently, I mean, obviously getting back into my faith has been a huge one. I wish I would have had that from the start, especially when getting out of the military. But the fitness has been a huge part of my life. I took a lot of years off of that, and I'm just getting back into it just like everything else. And so, but yeah, I mean, as far as negative coping, I'm not one of those people that ever get into the booze or the drugs or anything like that. I've just never been. Fuck, we lost him again.
No, we're here.
Oh,
no, we're here.
Okay, can you guys still see me? I don't have you.
Yeah.
So all right, I guess I
Yeah.
can keep talking then. Yeah,
You're
so
good.
no, I haven't gotten into any of that. So yeah, as far as negative copings, I'm not one of those guys, fortunately. But also at the same time, with coping with the problems and everything and the stresses, I've had a community of these wounded vets that I've been able to help, and that was what honestly helped me. I think more than most of these guys half the time is just because I'm able to talk as much to them as they are to me, and so I've been able to express feelings and be able to go through what they've been through, and vice versa, so I think that's where it really helps a lot in the men's community, is being able to have somebody to lean on, and without me even really realizing it, I've been able to have like that brotherhood through our organization and have meeting really awesome guys over the years and becoming really good friends with them. So I've been to a lot of their weddings and graduations and things that they've accomplished in their life and been able to be there for them. So it's helped me just as much as it's helped them, I feel.
Did you ever have a point in time where you felt like you were going to mentally break from the pressure of
Oh
everything?
God, every day. Yeah. I mean, starting a business obviously is extremely challenging. Trying to raise money, trying to have somebody give you money with nothing in return is extremely stressful, especially when you have these veterans and you feel that you're the only one and you're the only one doing this. And so, yeah, I mean, it's in the entrepreneur world, every day is, I mean, you never leaving the military, then be like, I'm going to do this on my own. Going from guaranteed paycheck to holy shit, are we even going to make any money this month is extremely stressful. And that puts a lot of pressure on the man of the house and represent, the family. It's really hard. It's a lot of pressure. And I feel a lot of guys obviously feel that, especially a lot of people in general, especially now, money just doesn't go as far anymore. So yeah, the financial stresses, I would say, has probably been my biggest battle over the years, as being an entrepreneur, starting an organization and, raising all this money for everybody else. And so, yeah, it can be definitely stressful at sometimes, of the financial burden that weighs on you.
Yeah. You've been open about business failures. What was the hardest one to swallow for you?
Honestly, Wild Chaos was a failed I don't want to say failed. I started it came out as like an apparel brand. Um, and it just didn't work out. It was one of those things that I kind of took personal for a while, that it had the opportunity to be something very successful. I ended up growing a security company. I had an executive security company that I had a partner on. This was one of my very early stages of learning in business, was the fact that I grew this multi-million-dollar business in just a short amount of time, and I had a partner in it. And then when everything kind of came to a head, I was partnering with this old Army Ranger, and I think he was going through a midlife crisis, and I ended up having to walk from the whole entire company, which I was supposed to be a part owner in this thing with sweat equity, and it just never happened. And so those were some pretty painful learning lessons as far as the business side of things. And it was tough to be able to swallow those pills of growing something and it was yours, doing all of the work, and then eventually just having to walk from it is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah. How do you rebuild confidence after life humbles you?
Not giving up, continuing, and just having to go get over those hurdles. And a lot of guys lose. I lost confidence for a long time. I'll be honest with you. That was one of those things, walking from, the security company, feeling like I failed at a couple of little companies and things that we wanted to do. It definitely takes away your confidence, because you go from being on top of the world, printing money, getting all these contracts, everything's crushing life. You got the cars, you got the house, everything looks good. And then all of a sudden one day you have nothing. And then you get into these trenches, you get into the ditches of like self-doubt, self-sabotage, you got imposter syndrome, all these things when it comes to just restarting over again. And so honestly, it really helps having an incredible wife to be able to build and just constantly not let me get in my own feelers, get into that depressive stage, and just continue to get out of it. And it takes a while to build confidence. And I think a lot of that comes with purpose. A lot of guys don't have purpose, so they lose their confidence, and then they lose their physical fitness, they lose their appearance. And it's just almost like this snowball where guys start just spiraling out of control. And I went down that road for a bit, had to check myself and step out of it and start with myself, working on my physical appearance, feeling good again, getting healthy, eating right. And then I think a lot of things just kind of fall into place after that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because you can have somebody all you want, like you said, your wife being there for you, telling you what they're seeing or trying to help guide you into a better spot in life. But at the end of the day, it's your choice on your own to make those changes, because nobody can do it for you. Just like nobody can make you happy. You have to be you have to find happiness within yourself to accept the happiness. So you have to accept the constructive criticism or the help or somebody being real with you. And as you said, you want your spouse to be real with you and tell you, hey, look, I'm seeing these changes. This is what I think you should do. This is what we need to work on. But at the end of the day, it's still your choice to make that first initial step to do it. So when you don't feel motivated, what keeps you consistent in life?
My kids, my wife, knowing that they're watching, being an example for them, I feel is my motivation, because my daughters, we're very tight. We homeschool. My kids are with us 24/7. One of the disadvantages, there's not very many negatives to homeschooling, but one of them is your kids learn you as much as you get to learn them. So when you're irritated, when you're irritable, not in the mood, they know. And at least for my kids, they can pick up on that immediately. And so in those times, I know that I have to kind of check myself. My wife will be like, hey, like I think it was last night, she sits me down and called me out on my bullshit. I got on my little feelers, and I didn't even realize, and she starts laying it out there. And I'm like, she's like, argue anything that I say is wrong. And I'm like, fuck, okay, like, just because you cannot get into those grooves. And so yeah, having my wife and kids there, knowing that they're watching and they're listening and they see, and I want my kids to be able to see failure, and I want them to see coming out of that and then the growing. So part of being successful, or just part of life, is failing, but learning how to overcome those failures. And I took them personal in the beginning years. And so, you get depressed, or you lose motivation. But then when you have to really just tell yourself, like, man, like, this is part of the journey. I'm gonna fail. We're gonna have to start over. But as long as you're not quitting and continuing to drive on every single day, putting on that face and being the example for my kids. I mean, because like I was saying earlier, we have each one of our kids is part of our businesses that we started with them and for them. So I can't get pissed off and irritated and want to quit. I can't have my wife do that, because they're watching, and that's just setting the example at an early stage for our children. Like, oh, it's hard. I'm out. I got to quit. So that's a huge part of my motivation, is showing my kids, hey, this is going to suck, but we're going to get through it. This is what winning looks like. This is what feeling or failing looks like. And this is the feelers in it. It's going to be, being an entrepreneur and being your own business owner, it's a roller coaster. And so, yeah, it's using my kids as motivation definitely helps a lot.
Yeah. Well, even just your kids, I mean, your spouse alone too. For people that don't have kids, you should want to be an example for your spouse as well, because at the end of the day, you're trying to be your best, not just for yourself, but for your spouse. So everything that you do, your spouse is going to be proud of, or you want them to be somebody that you want to show them the good, the bad, the indifferent, the ugly, whatever,
Yep.
however you want to put it. But if you have a spouse that's just going to agree with everything that you say and is going to go with everything that you're doing and be okay with it, or how you're acting or behaving or carrying yourself, then that's not really a spouse. That's more like a friend. A spouse, it can be a friend, but a spouse at the same time, it's kind of like being a parent. When you're a parent, I always said, I want to be my son's friend, but I want to be a parent more than a friend. I want him to be able to be
Absolutely.
open enough with me to come to me and talk to me and be real with me. But I also need to be a parent and tell him when he's doing wrong, or tell him what he needs to fix, or what I'm seeing that's not very characteristic of him. A spouse should be the same way. And like I tell everybody, like, your job is work, but your relationships with your spouse and your kids are also work. And where you spend your most time, where you spend the most time at, is work. But when you come home, it's still a job at the end of the day. It's not, you come home, you take off your, get in your pajamas, take off your shoes, eat some dinner, and it's just a free for all. You just sit there and you don't say anything, you don't do anything, because the stress of life, of work, at the end of the day is over, and then you're at home and all bets are off. It's everything we do is work. And I can say for myself, with my son, his dad and I split when he was younger, less than 10. And the first few years of that was hard, because you had two different parenting styles and two different homes. And you were setting two different examples. So with that, you have to have good co-parenting as well, which we did. But at the end of the day, the kids are the ones that are going to reap the benefits of seeing parents having healthy communication, how they handle failure, how they handle success. Some people become very arrogant with her success, and eventually it will hurt them in the end. And then there's people that suffer failure after failure after failure until they have that big break. And the consistency that you're talking about and never giving up is pertinent to be at the forefront for people. I think the most successful people have experienced the most failure in life. So
That's the only way.
yeah, for sure. But I'm interested, what role did faith play in your healing and your drive to keep going in life?
Man, I lost my faith for a long time. I grew up a pastor's kid. And so obviously raised in the Christian church. And then through my time in the military, traveling the world, I lost my faith. I was one of those, like, if there is a God, why did I just see this? Why is this happening? Why are we allowing this to
I think
happen?
we all ask that sometimes.
And so it slowly chips. And then obviously just the atmosphere of just partying and traveling and women and everything else that come with being a Marine. And it really pulled me away. And for a long time, and I think that's where a lot of my hatred and just anger and everything came from. And so my wife, fortunately, she ended up finding her journey on her path to faith and, becoming this incredible Christian that she is, started before me. And we're kind of how you were talking about how kids are watching and, being able to co-parent, and parents need to be on the same thing. A house needs to be evenly yoked. And when it comes to your parenting, you can't be opposites. And then obviously as the leader of the home, I need to set that example. And so, I really got back into my faith after watching my brother die. And so he held on to his faith, even though he battled cancer for 6 horrible years. And it was just the longest disgusting thing that anybody have to live through. He never gave up on his faith. He held on to that till his last breath. And that showed me, I'm like, if my brother can sit here taking his last breath, still believing that there is a savior, that he is going to heaven, it really opened my eyes. And that's when everything really started to change for me. And obviously, I'm a sinner. I sin every single day. I think we all do. But as far as being a true believer, that's when it really kind of sank back into me, watching how my parents went through it, watching my parents lose a child, but they're able to keep things together and to heal their marriage and to continue what they were doing, really just opened my eyes up. And so that's when I really started to get back into it. And it's just helped me go do so much. I mean, prayer for me, I need to do it a lot more. I talk about it a lot. I need to do it a lot more. But prayer for me is one of those almost therapy sessions that I get to have with my wife. And, and that to me is one of the most real, raw forms of therapy that you can ever do, is just having a conversation with God and being extremely as vulnerable as you can. And that's changed my life tenfold.
That's awesome. I want to switch gears kind of now to BAM Nation and the Wild Chaos podcast.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about why you started the Wild Chaos podcast, but what kind of conversations do you think the world avoids but desperately needs?
Truth. Absolute truth.
Yep.
Unfiltered, raw truth, people's stories. And that's what the whole point of the Wild Chaos podcast, what it's kind of evolved into, is giving an everyday person a voice and to be able to talk about these real, raw, uncomfortable life stories and circumstances that the people have been in. And I feel the way that social media is run and how everything's so just softened. But everybody's going through this. Everybody goes through turmoil. Everybody's going through bullshit and struggles and wins and losses. And it's just life. It's life for everybody. But for some reason, like this country, we're so consumed with everything's got to be perfect. You got the perfect pin wall on your Instagram and my family's this, and oh, I'm successful, but you don't see the shit that I just went through for the last 4 years to grow to get here, or however long it takes. So that is a big thing with me with the Wild Chaos podcast, is giving everybody the opportunity to tell their story. And I have from law enforcement officers been shot in the face to teachers that are outing the Boise school district for pedophilia and their mice running everywhere and shitting all over these kids' cooking utensils, to politicians. I mean, it's just anybody. I have a woman that's going live in a couple weeks, and she's running for as a Democrat here in the state of Idaho. And I never thought in a million years I'd ever talk to a Democrat, but now I see where our country's going. Everybody's fucking corrupt. So I'm like, I don't support any side, but I saw a video of her talking, and she was talking about things that I agreed on. I'm like, holy shit, I'm agreeing with a Democrat right now, but if nothing like extreme as far as just helping support small businesses and all that stuff. And I commented on her page. I go, Israel or America first? And she goes, America first, always. And I was like, fuck, perfect. Come have a conversation with me. And we knocked out, and I got her whole life story. She went through abuse, crazy ex that was beating the shit out of her, had her tied up in a trailer. And you would never have known this woman's story. And so, you know, now she's running for Congress and doing some.
That's one of the things I love about your podcast. I was telling, I've been ramping up your podcast since I found it, just so you know.
Thank you.
I love it. But I was telling somebody this morning to check it out, and he looks it up, and then the girl next to us, because I work in retail, and she's like, "What are you guys talking about?" I was like, "You got to look up this podcast." I go, "This guy, he brings like raw, like you said, raw people, like people with raw stories on there, very controversial subjects he talks about. He's a law enforcement, everything with politicians on there. He has school district people on there. He has a ton of stuff on there, and they literally looks it up within 2 minutes. They're like, follow." Like you literally, there's two reels of yours, I think, on your page that you have pinned. And I think I've watched one of them a couple of times, but I think my favorite one actually that you were just talking about was the guy that's been shot in the face.
Yeah, TJ Webb. Yep.
TJ Webb. I started following him. I actually messaged him to be on our podcast too. TJ Webb has an awesome podcast as well, but he's got an amazing story as well. But what's the rawest episode you've ever recorded on the Wild Chaos podcast?
We couldn't even air it. It was so graphic. It was bad. I've had a lot, to be honest with you, but one of them we couldn't air. We actually, I had to bring her back to come and reshoot the whole episode just because of how raw it was. And it would not, and I'm one of those, like, I have no filter. I'm actually surprised at how many times I have not even cussed on this podcast, but
you warned me too. So
I'm doing really good. I'm actually like trying to like control my cussing. And so she kind of a quick rundown. She grew up as a Mormon, married a Mormon. Her dad his father was a high-ranking member in the Mormon church. Found out that her man was molesting her children, and she just spilled it all because she ended up losing custody of her kids, which her episode's actually going to drop here in I think like 2 weeks, and actually probably next week. But anyways, it was just the details of what this dude was doing. It was one of the most real raw ones, but there was no way. And as a father, I didn't want the graphic detail and the nature of what happened, what these kids went through to go onto the internet. So one day when these kids, if they ever stumbled across and searched their mom, this pops up. As a dad, I just didn't feel right putting out the details of these children. So yeah, but that was probably our most real raw one that we've done. What we had to do, we couldn't air that one. We just had to redo it, but with a lot less detail of what was going on. But yeah, there's been some fucking crazy episodes. These people sit down and they just sit down. It's like a therapy session, and they just start telling me things. And I'll be honest with you, 99% of the people that I have on the podcast, that's my first time ever having like interaction with them. And so I try not to get any stories ahead of time. So everything that you're seeing in the questions, I would say probably 95% of the time, it's all just off the cuff, and I just have a conversation. I just talk to people.
Just having a
conversation. So I ask real questions because I listen to other podcasts, and I'll hear guests be like, yeah, then we kicked in the door, and then we cleared the room, and then we left. And I'm like, well, what the fuck else happened? Like, you know, I want more. I'm like, well, like, oh, I fell off this waterfall. How the fuck did you fall off a waterfall? You know, like this our guest that's live right now, like fell off this 80 or 70-foot waterfall. So like when I listen to podcasts, I always get irritated because nobody asks the questions that I want to hear. And so then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to ask people. I don't even give a shit. And so sometimes I catch some shit from the followers to be like, when I have women on, the women demographic is fascinating. Women are fascinating to me. They're the first to all rally behind a woman, but then they're the first to trash a woman. And then as a dude, they trash me for asking a woman a question, but I'm like, I didn't beg her to come on my show. Like I'm letting her tell her story. So I'm going to ask real questions. And so sometimes like I'll ask like paramedics, what's the worst call you've ever been on? But they know this, right? They know coming onto my show, like this is wild chaos. I'm going to ask the real shit that I want to know. Yeah. Well, because at the same time, everybody's so fucking sensified now. They don't ask the real stuff. And so people, your normal listeners and your everyday person, live in their own little bubble, and they don't even know what our cops are going through, what law enforcement, first responders, like I want to know what this first responder that lived in LA has been going through in the hospitals. Like, what's that like? And then I ask those real questions. And so that's where it's really cool to be able to hear that. And then every now and then you can ask a woman that, like, what? Why? Because I'm a man.
Why not?
Because I'm a man and I'm not, granted,
Everybody's
I haven't
so
gone
easily offended. Yeah.
Oh, fuck. And so
Yeah.
I just comment back.
Like-
I just let them know. I'm like, you must be new here. Like, this is the Wild Chaos podcast. Like,
Yeah.
you don't like it, go listen to some soft ass like Sean Ryan shit or whatever. But
Well, what's funny is
know.
your pod.
Come on, Sean.
Well, what's
You're
funny
right.
is your podcast is like
Right.
you ask the hard questions and like get the gory nitty gritty details that everybody wants. And then my podcast, I'm watching your podcast, looking at the people on yours, and I'm like, oh, I need to get that person on my show, like TJ Webb. And I'm like, I want to get that person on my show because I want to ask them the questions of like, how'd you overcome that? And how did you deal with life after going through that? So like, we're doing the same thing with our podcast, just in different ways.
Which is great.
But I wanted to ask you, what do you think accountability? Why do you think accountability is so hard for people to like this day and age? I think accountability has always been hard for people, but it seems a lot harder now for people to take accountability when they're in the wrong.
There's more eyes now. I mean, honestly, there's more with social media. Everything is out there. Like the internet is forever. I don't mean to take.
Do you agree?
the
Do you
thunder or
agree with
anything.
that, Bryan, or do you have more to add to that?
It's interesting. I think a lot of it comes, we have a lot more distraction that we have now. So it's easier to not take the accountability because you could just get onto the next subject. I was actually just talking about this with a buddy of mine the other night and talking about men in general, how these guys, I got into it with a guy and I'm one of those, like, I'll die when I'm on a hill. I'm fucking dying on that hill. If I'm right or wrong, I'll admit I have no problem taking on the chin, admitting my losses, admitting when I'm wrong. And so I feel all men are like that. Then I get into it with this guy and I knew 100% he's wrong. I'm like, dude, just accept that you're wrong. Like there's nothing, you don't have to keep continuing to fight this problem. Take it on the chin as a man, accept your losses, accept your accountability. You made a mistake, you failed, whatever it may be, and just move on. But I feel now people don't want to take accountability because we see these perfect lives, perfect, marriages and families and businesses. So when they do fail and they don't want to, it's a way of them almost skirting the edge. Like, oh, if I just don't accept this right now, I'll refix it. But instead it's like, man, okay, I fucked up big time. All right. How do I fix this? That's accountability for me. How do I, messed up, put my foot in my mouth, piss somebody off, said whatever the 1,000 things I do every day. And then my wife tells me constantly that I'm fucking up, but it's to take that accountability and be like, okay, lesson learned. And every time that you need to take accountability should be a lesson. And then you learn from that. And that's what betters you. And that's how then the next time something similar happens, like, okay, instead of me running from this, and then I have that sick feeling, it's weighing on me. It's all I'm thinking about because I'm dodging my being accountable as a man. I just address the situation to get it over with. For me, that's how my mind works. Like, let's squash this shit now. Yep, I'll 100% take accountability of this. How do we move forward? Then you start the process of learning, healing, whatever it may be, instead of dragging it out until it eventually either catches up to you or fades away. But it's always going to be in the back of your mind that you didn't take accountability for something. So I'm one of those dudes. I check when I need to be accountable. It happens immediately.
So I can tell you personally, I have dealt with in my lifetime, the lack to be able to hold myself accountable for things I knew I was doing wrong, or for things that people are pointing out that was a certain particular personality trait about myself that I was like, I was one of those people who's like, well, this is how I am, just deal with it. Like, you should just be able to adjust to whoever I am and like it. And that's not the way the world works. So the last few years I've been really adamant about, like, if I am wrong, I will admit it. If I knew that I overstepped the bounds, I'll admit it. If I know I hurt somebody's feelings, whether it's intentional or unintentional, I'll admit it. And I always accept accountability when I knew I was being an asshole, or, for lack of a better terms, a witch, to something that it might have been something I was passionate about or believed in, but I came across and the wrong mannerisms about it. So I've learned kind of to take a step back, take a breath, and approach things a little bit differently. If I still come across in a way that offends somebody, I'll take accountability for my actions if I was inappropriate in the behavior that I did so. But if I offend somebody, I can't help if somebody is offended because I'm being me and speaking my truth. So if I'm talking to somebody and I'm saying something about my past and I'm telling them something that happened to me and they're offended because they don't want me to talk about molestation, because they don't want to talk about it, because it's off subject for them and they're sensitive to it or whatever, I'm still going to tell my truth. I'm sorry I offended you, but I'll take accountability for the fact that I offended you in a way that you didn't want to talk about it. I kept talking about it. I will not talk to you about it again. But it's not my fault that somebody gets offended over a sensitive subject. Like
Yeah, I don't apologize for shit.
Yeah, and I've gotten to
if I'm speaking to
yeah,
Sorry,
I've
go
gotten to
ahead.
that point. I've gotten to that point too. But like, there's been times lately where I've behaved in a way that's unbecoming. That has gone on long enough. Was because it was a part of me that was not healed from my past. I was still shackled to my past. So I decided to, and this was recent, I decided to release the shackles of not being able to trust, not being able to think that I'm capable of being loved or genuinely accepted by others. So all of these things I preach about: be yourself, be kind, be humble, live your truth, speak your truth. I mean, I'm telling everybody else to do that, but at the same time, I wasn't doing it myself in some ways. So now I've taken accountability to, it's like, okay, I'm going to be the way I've always wanted to be and release the shackles. And whatever happens in the future happens. And it was meant to happen the way it's meant to happen. But I think there's so many people that have a hard time taking accountability because people do not like constructive criticism. People don't like to be
100%.
judged. They don't like criticism. They don't like accountability. They don't like the pressure of having to change. Like you said earlier, in order for people to change or accept the fact that there needs to be something to change, they have to do something with their lifestyle. And a lot of people don't want to look at themselves and be like, oh, my lifestyle sucks. I'm going to complain that I'm fat or overweight. I can't get a job. I don't have the means to support my family, but yet they'll do things to spend money they don't have, or go and do things that they don't have the means to do it, or they live above their means. So it's all about lifestyle change. But I'm learning through a lot of things lately with my own healing, because I've started reading this book called Detached, and it's really, really good. But people don't like change. And that is the biggest setback to people not making changes for their future for the betterment of themselves. So I was going to ask you, what happens when somebody avoids accountability long enough? What do you think happens to somebody?
Man, I feel that it starts to rot. It's almost like cancer in somebody. Because that's when you start coming up with excuses. You find every way to not do things. Like, and you were saying how with accountable, I feel that people don't like the truth a lot of times because they know that truth is uncomfortable. But when you're uncomfortable, you're growing. And so if you're like how you're saying, like if people I love when people try to, not try, but when they, like my wife, she'll try to check me and, on being accountable for things. And if I don't fix it, then it just wears. I'm one of those guys, like things will fester for a long time and then they build and build and build. And I feel then you start throwing different stresses in there and true as a man, I'm just speaking for men, for myself, like if I don't accept accountability, that shit rots in me. And I eventually start wearing it. It's coming out as irritability. I'm angry, whatever it may be. So that's why a lot of times that I check it immediately. Okay, accept accountability because you're trying to avoid something. If you're not accepting accountability, you're avoiding something. And so that's either getting your life back on track, businesses, finances, wife, kids, whatever it may be. And yeah, I think eventually it just wears. It's one of those things that just adds weight to your shoulders and it just starts compiling and you're just building and building and building. Every time you're trying to dodge something, it just adds weight to you. And that's where I'm one of those, like I clear all that shit off my plate immediately as fast as possible.
Yeah. Well, and it can not only build up resentment with other people that you're not being
Yep.
accountable with, it can build up resentment with yourself as well.
Really?
So yeah, but anyways, Bam or Bryan, we're towards the end of the show. I wanted to play a fun game called Rapid Fire with you. So, and then we're going to do something else new with you just because you are a tell-all and give the truth type of guy. So after we play Rapid Fire, I'm going to ask you a few questions. I'm also going to put you in the hot seat and ask you some of the tough questions. And I want your honest answers. So,
God, here we go.
So rapid fire. First answer that comes to your mind: most underrated Marine Corps skill that helps in real life.
Leadership.
Okay.
I think leadership is all around. Yep.
Yeah. One word people use to describe you that you hate.
I don't know. I don't know. Dang, that's a shit. You are putting me on the hot spot. I honestly don't know if I have an answer to that one. That's a great question. I don't know.
You'll have to think on
don't-
it and get back to me.
Yeah. Something that people, I don't know that. Sorry. I don't know how to answer to that one.
Okay. What's one word you want people to describe you as?
Caring.
Caring. And what's more dangerous, an undisciplined man or an insecure man?
An insecure man. 100%.
Interesting.
I think an insecure man. Insecure people will do. I think an undisciplined person, obviously, if they're secure with themselves, they just don't have the discipline to carry out or build something, can be built on. Insecurities, I think people make some really horrible decisions and knee-jerk reactions when they're insecure.
Yeah, for sure. Impulsive. What's your biggest green flag as a man?
My biggest green flag?
Mm-hmm.
Like what? What am I for? Just life?
Life in general. Yep.
Accountability.
All right.
I think if a man could take accountable, it can be accountable of all of his actions. That's somebody that I could have in my life, like as a friend. It's somebody that just is true to their word and accountable.
All right. Hardest workout you've ever done?
Oh God, I got sucked into some stupid ass CrossFit course when CrossFit was first coming out, early Marine Corps days. And they're like, dude, you're a big dude. We're going to send you to CrossFit. I was like, what the fuck is CrossFit? And they're like, you get out of work for 2 weeks. I'm like, sign me up. Should not have done it. These dudes, I went to this course. I was the only Marine with this whole entire course down in San Diego full of fucking Navy SEALs. And of course, half the course was in the pool. It was horrible. I just thought about just drowning myself just so I can get kicked out of this course. It was miserable. I've been through some pretty miserable training and courses, but yeah, that was one of them. It was just all day, every day hell. And I was like, I didn't even know what CrossFit was. I got
sorry, I
into it.
laughed when you said CrossFit because there's that thing that goes around like, how do you know a CrossFitter is a CrossFitter? They'll tell you. Like CrossFit, I tried it. I want to go on the record. It's not my thing.
I do not do CrossFit.
I don't either.
They said to become an instructor because the Marine Corps thought they were going to like adopt CrossFit. So they wanted to make instructors. So I went to go be an instructor. I was an instructor, martial arts instructor, and all a bunch of other shit. So yeah, I went there and I was like, this was miserable. Like, I don't want anything to do with any of this shit. You all got it. So yeah, I did not pursue CrossFit.
Next question. One thing men need to stop blaming women for.
Men need to stop blaming women. Damn. That's a tough one. I don't know, but I don't blame women for anything. So I don't know how to answer that one. I'm personally like one of those guys. I take it on the chin. So I've never blamed a woman. Hold on. Men, I'm trying to think of all the men that I know that blame women for things. Men blame women for it. I don't know how to answer that one, to be honest with you. I don't have an answer for that one.
All right.
Sorry.
I'll let it slide.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
You're good. What's the biggest misconception about alpha men? That
they're leaders, that they're a true man. I hate the alpha man shit. I don't get behind that at all. I think it's the biggest crock of shit because a true alpha male doesn't need to announce his presence. They don't need to tell you that they're alpha. A true alpha male, in my opinion, could own a room by walking in there, but also love his children, can love his wife, can be the softest dude in that room, but also at the same time be the hardest dude. To me, that's an alpha male. So I can't buy into this like go and be some raw shit. That's why when I started BAM Nation, like it's none of that. It is true man shit without the raw, gotta be a hard motherfucker and I'm an alpha dude. The most alpha dudes I've ever met were the most fucked up, deranged, lonely people I've ever met in my life. Like I love the alpha thing, and for men, I think it's the biggest crock of shit and biggest lie ever. So yeah, I think a true alpha male should be able to cry, can be able to laugh, can be able to spend time with his kids, and they love him and be loved and loved. That is a true man to me, and that's what an alpha is in my eyes.
What's more attractive, confidence or consistency?
Confidence.
If you could ban one phrase from the internet, what would it be?
One phrase from
He's
the internet.
thinking.
Israel's not our ally.
Like it. What's worse, laziness or excuses?
I think they're about equal, to be honest with you. I think they both have their cons. Laziness. I'd say lazy people is hard to get somebody going that is just extremely lazy and to get their life going again. That's a tough one.
What's your no matter what rule as a husband, father?
To shut the fuck up and listen. Always listen. Just listen. Listen to your
Listen.
kids, listen to your wife before you speak. Just listen to what they have to say. That has been a tough lesson for me that I have had to drill into my head, is just shut up and listen.
I think that is my biggest pet peeve, is when people listen to respond. My mother did that all growing up. She just listened to respond. So she heard tidbits of what I said or little things here or there. And she had a response before I was even done saying what I was trying to say. Like, if you're going to scrutinize me, or if you're going to ask me a question or ask me to respond to you and give you a reasoning for something, at least listen to it before you respond. A lot of people don't. I mean, I've had bosses before that they ask you a question, they ask you to explain something, and you talk, and they're not really listening. They're hearing what they want to hear because they're distracted with something else. And then their response legitimately is not even one that gives you an answer. So yes,
Absolutely.
that's great. What's the most savage truth you had to learn about yourself?
That I am a very flawed man. Very
I
flawed.
like that. Yeah, you're a very vulnerable, humble human being, which I think is what makes your podcast so great. I've actually, when you talked about your faith earlier, I've heard a few, because your podcast is not live like this one is. But I've seen a few of your reels or your podcast episodes where you do talk about your faith, and I've seen you it looks as if you're almost going to break down into tears talking about your faith and how that has helped you become the man that you are, and how it keeps you close and grounded to everything that you've known in your life. And so I have a lot of respect for that. So keep that going, because that does emulate across to your viewers as well.
Well, what's crazy is every conversation with these people that I'm having, it's not even intentionally. I'm not like I'm anti like religion. I'm anti mega church, all this. It's just not from, I'm about the relationship that I have with God. I build a relationship. So, and that's where, but then what's crazy is just, I don't bring it up. It's all organic, but it gets brought up in almost every single episode that I do, of how many people just found their faith again or lost it. And then they go through these horrible times and then they find faith. And it's like, it's not even a question I ask in my polls when I'm getting to know people. Like, I have a questionnaire that I send people, and they, to get their backstory, hardly ever brought up. And it's just one of those things that people are like, man, like, this is such an organic conversation about faith. And I feel if it goes there, it goes there. If it doesn't, it's how I feel that it's being real and raw, because I think people need to hear it. It's changed my life. I mean, I fought the world. I got the scars and fucking broken bones to show for it. For years, I fought the world until I found my faith again. And now it's like, God, completely different person.
That's awesome. Well, now I'm going to put you on the edgy hot seat, because you're a
Let's do
guy.
it.
So as a female, I would like to hear a guy's perspective and answer on some of these questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll start with, what's the most common way men self-sabotage relationships?
By being in other relationships.
No?
by having distractions. I was that guy for a long time. I was always distracted. I was chasing everything under the sun, and wasn't focusing on what I truly had. And it destroyed every relationship. It's destroyed my marriage. It destroyed everything. So yeah, not being present.
Yeah. What's the difference between a good man and a safe man?
I feel a safe man is he's there. You can be safe, but I feel a good man is somebody that makes moral and righteous decisions on behalf of anything and everybody who's around. I would rather be a good man than a safe man, because I can still, as far as safe, defend my family no matter what, but you could be a safe man as far as being able to protect, but that doesn't mean you're a good man. You could turn on people, you can backstab, you could do things like that. But I feel I would rather be known as a good man than a safe man personally. And that's because you can still be safe, but also a good person at the same time, making moral decisions and ethical decisions and things like that.
I like
Personally.
that outlook. Do you think most men actually want accountability or just control?
The men that I deal with personally want accountability 100%. Those are the men that I work with, and in our group and our communities are men that are looking for a purpose, accountability, and need to be checked on it 100%. That's where in the world that I'm in, that I would lean that way.
Yeah. Do you believe most men are emotionally immature or emotionally afraid?
I think I was emotionally immature because I never had a mother that actually taught me how to like process feelings and things when I was younger. She's this very closed off, kind of cold woman. Love my mom, whatever. But yeah, I was emotionally immature for a very long time. And so yeah, until it took me maturing to realize that. So I would say emotionally immature.
What's a hard truth about masculinity that triggers people?
That it's okay to cry.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day about well, you're talking about feminism, but then we were talking about how there's the alpha females that are the boss bitch,
Gross.
yeah.
Gross.
I am
Disgusting.
I don't like to be a complete I like to be a woman that I know what I'm good at and I can take control of it and I can hold my own and be independent because I've always been independent. But I also like to be guided by a man on
Mm-hmm.
what to do and him to take care of me and him to provide and everything. But I like to have my own, be able to think on my own. So I think I like to be a happy medium. Um, I don't want to be somebody that I do know those females that are out there and they're like, I don't need a man. I'm like, I'm sorry. There's things that men can do that
Yes,
women
you
can't,
do.
and we do
You
need a man.
100%.
We
You
100% need
100%
a
need a
man.
man. And
Yeah.
that's why these women that are all these boss babes are miserable. Nobody wants to be around them. No man wants to go and work his blue collar ass job and come home to some boss babe that's now she's in control. Like it's the
Well, and
most
their thought process is, well, I make a ton of money, so I'll just take care of him and he can do whatever he wants. And I have all the money. But they don't want that. Men in their soul by nature are to provide. They're there to
Mhm.
provide for their families, for their children, for their spouse, whatever. Um, but there's things I can tell you right now. If I'm single the rest of my life and I don't have a male, I'm screwed. Like there's certain things that I just can't do. Just like with men. I mean, men will surface clean. I always make a joke about it. I've made a joke about it with all my exes, but men can surface clean and they'll be like, I cleaned all day. And I'm like, good for you. But like, there's certain things that women are really good at and men are really good at. And that's why women and men are supposed to be together in that fashion, in my opinion. But I had a conversation with somebody. Yeah. I had a conversation.
I'm really good at the
Yeah.
counter. That my wife can't
Yeah,
hit.
but and I'm thankful for a guy that will reach out and just help with things that are kind of I was raised in a house where and I was married to somebody that was this way that females take care of everything inside the house and males take care of everything outside the house. And that's just the way it was. And the women cook and the women clean and the men do all the nitty-gritty mechanical stuff. But then I've had people that we kind of just figure it out together and we do what we're good at. And one might be good at something that the other one sucks at. So I kind of I was just kind of going off your masculinity thing because it is like men have this thing like if they cry, they're a simp or they're a wuss or they're like not they're
Mhm.
not a man. And it's like, no, men can cry, men can have feelings. And that streamlines into what I've been talking a lot about on my private Facebook group page lately is mental health awareness. Like there's such a stigma around talking about mental health. People think that when people talk about mental health, it's for attention or it makes them weak or it makes them, they should be ashamed of it because it's not something that they should talk like they're proud of it. And so men are the same way. We're finding that more men are being self-aware enough to talk about their mental health and be open and vulnerable about it. But then we still have these men that are like, you don't have depression. Like, F that. Like, we're not depressed. We're supposed to be strong. And that's a
Mhm.
real man. Like, that is so not okay. Like that doesn't, and to be honest with you, for most females, that's not even attractive. If you're attracted to a guy that is not emotionally available or able to be open and vulnerable with you, like then what are you doing? Like, why do you have the man? Just to provide for you so you have a roof over your head and pay for things and take you to nice dinners and shop? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. So I really like your answer on the masculinity one because that is a big one that gets talked about a lot is real men don't cry. Like,
I talk about it a lot because I was one of those guys. That's when I talk about my past being just, when I say I was full of hate, like I woke up, and my wife she can come on and tell you, I woke up and chose violence every day. If anybody even wanted to pop off, road rage, check something in a grocery store, I was that guy. Like I was happy, but I was ready to check anybody, fight at any time, burn the whole entire world down, because I carried all that, right? I was a man. That was me being an alpha, and I'm this tough dude. And after, man, I'm telling you, when I lost my brother, and that's when I changed my life, was because I bottled it. And then when I finally was able to express it, man, it just changed everything. And then when I get on my knees and pray, and I have no problem, anybody can come and fucking say whatever they want. I get on my knees and I have a legit conversation with God and thanking him for everything that he has blessed me with, from this conversation to my healthy children, to my wife being my best friend. Like, how do you not get emotional over that? If you truly care, how do you not get emotional over that? And then the weight that it releases off me of asking for forgiveness and asking for health and to have a better relationship. And I'm praying for my daughter's future husbands at this point, because that's what I want him working on for them. And it's like, how do you not get emotional with that? And every time I do, and I've had guys that I've sat with that are some of the biggest fucking murderers I've ever met in my life. Dudes that have operated all over this world. They have body counts and stacked bodies more than everything. And I've cried my eyes out with these dudes, and they'll say the same thing. And then that's when I see this alpha shit and like the Andrew Tates of the world, and, oh, you're soft review this. We got to go out and just get chicks and get car. Like, that's not what life's about.
I almost brought that. I almost brought
maybe
Top
when you're
G
younger,
up.
man. Yeah, I just like that type of dude is such a toxic person for me. I wish he had a better just mission, because it's what the life he's living now. That dude's not happy. I got buddies that I got buddies, and I know people that have it all. They got tens of millions of dollars in the bank account. They got the trophy wife, they got kids, they got the mansion, the cars, you name it. And they're the most miserable human being you've ever met in your life, because they feel that's the image. They're chasing this man shit. Got to provide, got to look on top of everything. I got to show off to everybody. I've lived that life. And I'll tell you what, living a very simple life, spending as much time with your children, having an incredible relationship with your children, and having an incredible relationship with your spouse, there's nothing greater than, like, I don't want to come home and be miserable. I'm not going to sit here and put my wife as some object that, granted, we have our roles in the house. I lead my home. My word is what goes in this house, but we'll have conversations. And I'm not sitting here, I run my house as some dictator. My wife and I are evenly yoked on everything, but we have our disagreements, and we talk about it. She'll lay out her side of it. I lay out mine. We come to an agreement with it. But if you're coming in as this tough dude, gotta bang chicks and be this hard ass dude, make millions, like, that's good luck, man. I've lived the life. I have buddies that are living it now, and they're miserable. And that's where
that's a life without Christ.
Yeah, that's the life.
It's a life without Christ.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
That's all. That's literally what it is. It's a life without Christ.
And I'm not even trying to turn this into some religious shit, but man, when you start putting when you put Christ first, when you put your family first, and you feel the feeling that you get from it. It's like, why would I not want to live this life? I would give up I mean, we're in the middle of burning the ships. I walked away from 3 of our companies this year, flushing everything just to start a life that I can put myself first, put my family first, put Christ first. And once we put him first, all this shit starts falling into place. Doors start opening. He cannot keep any door closed if it's his will. And it's like, I have to fucking tell myself this constantly, because you have that flesh feeling, and I'm going to get into this. I'm going to start hiding this, or whatever the path you start going down, and you start getting pulled away from putting Christ first. Changes your life. It's changed my life. That's the only reason I'm kind of passionate about it, is because if y'all knew me a couple of years ago, it's night and day. How your life will change and how better you feel. Like, why do I not want to be happy? Like we're only on this planet for so long. Why am I going to come home and be miserable that my kids are yelling and screaming around the house? Like that their voices should bring you joy. Your wife when you walk in and the first thing you see is your wife, that should bring joy to you. And I got guys that are miserable. They'd rather be at the bar. They're at the strip club. They're doing guys nights 4 or 5 times a week. They're finding every reason to not be with their family. And it's like, you're failing. Like you are failing life if you are not happy to be home. And that's where those uncomfortable conversations might need to come up to change some things. But yeah, I just couldn't imagine living my life like that and being miserable.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to tell you, I'm sorry to hear about your brother, by the way. Sorry
Yeah,
for
thank
loss
you.
on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can agree with you though. Like, we've talked about on the show, but I've experienced becoming closer to God or to my faith and also appreciating life more than I normally did 3 times in my life. One was when I had cancer for the second time and thought I was going to die. The second one was when I lost my sister in 2019 to suicide. And the third was last year in 2024 when I almost committed suicide. Each of those times taught me how to be stronger and resilient just a little bit more. That's why this podcast means so much to me. But I can attest, just as you can, that when you go through things like that of loss of yourself or loss of others, you do realize that you need to appreciate the people and things around you a little bit more than you did and not take them for granted. Because I've been telling everybody this lately that I hear complain about their job, about their finances, about the people, their friends. I'm like, then change it. You don't like it? Do something about it to change it. But at the end of the day, that job could be gone tomorrow. Your friends could be gone tomorrow. The shit that you're complaining about could be your house, your cars, your whatever could be gone tomorrow. But the people that are in your house or in your heart that live there, your family, your spouse, your kids, those things are still going to be there tomorrow for the meantime. So why don't you go ahead and appreciate them while you're here? Because they're not going to be stripped of you unless they do something to cause themselves to be stripped of you or if they pass away. And then when you pass away, like I did with my sister, this is how I felt with my sister, is when she passed away, I had so many regrets and so much shame and so much guilt for all the times that I didn't spend more time with her. I didn't talk to her more. I didn't listen to her more. I didn't sit with her more. I purposely would avoid her calls or her texts because I didn't want to hear another complaining session. When that complaining session for her was a vent session that she just needed an ear to listen. And now that I look back on that, I don't ever purposely ignore a text or a call. If I don't answer your call or text, it is because I'm legitimately right in the middle of something, but I don't sit on it and not get back to somebody because I learned a hard lesson with that one back in 2019. So I can tell you, I had an experience with my faith back in 2024 after I almost committed suicide. And I was going around looking at different churches I wanted to be a part of, separate from the ones I'd already previously visited when I first moved here. And I found one, and it was the only time I went to this one. I haven't been back since. And I went down on the pews, got on my knees at the front while the pastor was saying a prayer. And then we took a moment of silence. I walked down there, not knowing anybody at the church, and I started bawling. And something overcame me that day, that it was just a release of all of the tension and anger that had been built up inside of me for years. And ever since that day, I have felt more relief and less pressure to be somebody I'm not than ever before. So that's
here's my question to you. How many times have you done that since?
I would say probably at least a couple dozen times. And I can tell you honestly, when they say your best thoughts come to you when you're in the shower, that is legitimately for real. I've had a couple times where I'm in the shower.
In the shower.
Yep. I've had a couple times where I've been in the shower and I'm so pissed off at something, or I'm so upset, or I'm so emotionally just drained. I had one last week. I was just done emotionally, and I just cried. And it's not like a cry, like a boo hoo hoo loud, like everybody knows. It's like a silent cry where you just have tears streaming down your face and you just can't stop it. And to me, that's when I know, for me with my faith, because I've always said, I don't believe these people that say, like, you don't believe in God, you don't go to church. And I'm like, I don't have to go to church for me to have faith and believe in God, or believe in something of a higher power that is helping guide me in my life and in my purpose. I can go to the mountains and hike a mountain and do that, or go to a mountain lake, or go for a walk and do that. For me, sometimes it's in the shower, and I will just have tears streaming down my face. And I think those are the times when I'm being told that this is something, whatever you're thinking about, this is the path you're supposed to go down, or what you're thinking about, this is what you need to focus on, or this is what you need to work on, or you need to have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself and really look at what you need to do to change things. And that's where I was at. I literally had that happen last week. I think I even wrote a post about it over the weekend or last week sometime. And I was just emotionally done, just drained from a lot of different areas in my life. So I can totally relate with you on that one. I do have one last question for you before we let you go. If you had to sum up your life message in one sentence, what would it be?
Go for it. Just fucking send it. Chase your dreams. Don't sit on it. Just do it. Just go. Just whatever you want to just start. Start today. Get it. I have procrastinated. I would be set if I launched this podcast when I talked about it, we'd be in our 7th year right now. And we're hitting our 2-year mark on the 15th.
And it's taking off. I told somebody the other day, don't let this go to your head. I listen to Joe Rogan a lot. I haven't been religiously listening to him as much, but I told somebody the other day, they're like, who is he? And I'm like, he's the Joe Rogan of podcasts in Idaho. Look him up.
Oh God, no.
And they're like, no. I'm like, yeah, they are. And
I appreciate it.
Because you have.
Hold on a minute. You mentioned Sean Ryan earlier. You're what Sean Ryan should be.
Yes.
100%.
The level of guests that he gets and the softball questions that he throws at them and never follows up, you should be in his seat.
I will be. 100% I will be.
My opinion.
Yeah, I will be. I'm not
172,000 followers on your podcast?
On Facebook. I think we're 500,000 total on all the platforms. We're pushing 500,000, but
yeah, you're getting there.
The thing with, and I'm not like knocking Sean Ryan. I used to be a fan, but like you take a guy like he had Gavin Newsom on. I'd be like, why the fuck are you? Why are you ruining your state? But instead, he gives him a shitty ass SIG pistol and like sits there and laugh with him. Like if I'm
a 6-hour podcast with Hunter Biden and didn't ask him anything hard.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's where that's my problem. Right? Because, and I get it, right? Because I've had some people on that were like anti-Israel, whatever. And then I get hated and people are like, you can't put this out here. I'm like, who the fuck says I can't? Like, this is like, right. Why? Because you don't agree with it, but it's the truth. Like, but I'm going to ask questions because I feel if I'm thinking it, there's probably a huge majority of people that are thinking it too. But it's like, dude, if you're going to have that caliber, which I don't even ever care if I ever get to that level of having those types of people on, I'll entertain it. But like the average person, the yous and eyes of the world, that to me is more fascinating than some shitty ass politician. But it's like, if I'm going to have that person on, oh, you bet your fucking ass I'm going to ask some legit questions because that's the perfect opportunity. But instead he plays his softball shit. But at the same time, when you get to that level and you're dealing with those people, the contracts that go back and forth of what you're able to ask and not speak about, I get it. But then I won't entertain it. I had a woman on our show that she tried to filter a whole entire episode that I was going to launch with her. She had her attorneys go through it and they sent me 4 pages and they were filtering what I was saying. And I told her, I was like, I'm like, I'm not even entertaining this. We didn't even air it just because she wanted to try to control the narrative of the show. And I was like, yeah, absolutely not worth my time because that's not who I am. The only time we ever edit anything is like if somebody drops a word that's going to get us canceled or a name or a location where people just if there's kids involved, whatever. That's the only, other than that, that's the rawest episode that you're ever going to get. Like I think
too many people on the internet are worried about being politically correct.
Yeah.
Is a thing or offending other people. Whatever.
I've had these days.
Yeah, everybody. Well, Bam, I wanted to thank you for being raw, honest, and real tonight. And I know this episode is going to hit people exactly where they need it. I really appreciate the fact that you're able to come on here and be just who you are. And that's one of the reasons I love following your podcast. I wanted you to share with everybody, where can they find you on your podcast, Bam Nation? Plug yourself for a minute, if you will.
Oh yeah. I mean, Wild Chaos Podcast. It's awesome. Any support we get there is always great because I do it with my kid. So it's just my daughter and I, or that's my team. It's just my oldest and I. And then, my personal, I mean, I could give a shit if you follow my personal because it's kind of some random stuff, but it's Bam 0069 if anybody wants to follow. Yeah. And then BAM Nation's a private community. So it's private because obviously when we built it, the men that I was going this huge process of building a community for men, that was one of the most requested things. And so, yeah, it is a private community for men, but it's the most incredible thing that I've been a part of in a very long time.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Maybe we'll have to have you on in the future when you
Anytime.
become the Joe Rogan of Idaho, as I put it.
That's hilarious.
But
hey, I'll take it. That's a compliment. I'll take it.
I mean, he's the same way. He sits and talks with his friends or his buddies all day, every day, or people that even he doesn't know he's met for a brief moment, and he tells it like he is, and he has his opinion, and sometimes he agrees with his guests, and sometimes he doesn't, and they just sit and have real raw conversations just like you do with your guests. So yeah, that's why I equivalent you to being the same as him.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll take that compliment.
Plug your bread company too,
yeah,
bro.
plug your bread company.
The Sour Bee Bread and Garden. Yeah. So we do bougie ass sourdough. We drop new flavors constantly. We actually have a whole the kids are downstairs actually busting out a giant order as we speak. We drop new flavors every 2 weeks. They constantly change during the summertime. All the herbs, everything comes from the garden, the peppers. I mean, you name it, the garlic, everything. So we got into that. It was kind of one of those therapy things that I started to get into, and I don't know why.
And you sell the sourdough starter kit on there, correct?
Yeah. Yep. It's
I think I saw that yesterday.
we got everything, honestly, but yeah, our flavors, we rotate them so that way you get constantly new stuff. Like right now it's all Valentine's flavors. So we got a strawberry dragon fruit white chocolate loaf. It's that's one of the greatest flavors we've ever sold. It tastes like a strawberry donut, but it's sourdough. We have a red velvet. We do a Nutella almond toffee loaf. It's called our drone. I mean, we call it the Stinky Bee. It's like an Asiago. I got a cheese plug. I never thought in a million years I'd have like a cheese dealer that I meet in like an Albertsons parking lot and buy cheese out of the back of their truck. And so we get really high quality cheese. It's like they're the actual cheese rep for Albertsons, and we met them and I got in and they actually like cut us a deal on like blocks of cheese. And so it's hilarious. But hey, being an entrepreneur, you never know where it's going to take you. So yeah, the Sour Bee, we use all fresh ingredients. We don't use any preservatives. The only preservative that we use is our own honey from our beehives. And so yeah, it's a great bread. It's probably it's the best sourdough you'll ever have. I'll put my name on that.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again for being on the show, and we'll continue to follow you and look forward to maybe having you again on in the future, but keep doing what you're doing. You're making a difference.
Thank you. We'll do. I'm just glad I didn't say something to get y'all canceled. That was the first one live, so I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
You're good.
Thanks, man. Take care. Have a good night, brother.
All right. We'll see you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. Good dude.
That guy's awesome. He's so legit. The day that he messaged me back, I was in the middle of work and I'm like, do I answer this now or do I wait till later? And I'm like, I better hop on this now because this guy may not message me back if I don't message him back right now. So, and it was funny because it was like, yeah, go ahead and preliminarily put me on your calendar for February. And then he's like, get a hold of me like a month before. I got all that stuff going on, just kind of like what I told you earlier. Like this guy could kind of be a douche. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't want him on my show. Right. And then it got to be a month out. I got back a hold of him and it took him like a week to respond. And then he did. And then he kept his word. So he's a man of his word, like he said. So really appreciate him being on the show. And next week we have Todd McGill. He is he's an awesome guy. He is someone that got me on staff with Bullify when I was on staff with them. He is also a lead on Bowler HQ. I'm very supportive of them too. They put live events on their YouTube page. Haven't seen anything with that for a while, so I'll have to talk to him about that. And then he's struggled with mental health issues during his life that he's more than happy to be open about. So we'll be talking with Todd McGill next week and get to know him a little bit better in his story as well. So that's all we have for tonight. And I guess we'll be back here next Tuesday at the same awful place for the same great time or however that goes. But anyways, thanks for everybody that did tune in live or will be tuning in and restreaming after the program is done here. on YouTube. And then the audio is going to be available on all audio podcast platforms starting on Thursday. Again, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, our private Facebook group page. I think we're almost up to like 410 people there. I think we have like 223 or 4 subscribers on YouTube now. So we're getting little bits here and there. Again, and if you know anybody that has an awesome story that we need to hear about or that they want to share and come share their story with us, we would love to hear from them. They can email us at resetandrisepodcast@gmail.com, or you can privately message me and I will get back to you. So other than that, thanks, Rob, for all you do. Thanks again for Bam Marshall being on the show. We really appreciate him and wish him all the best and greatness with him and all of his things that he has going on that he's involved in. So anyways, I guess we'll see you next week, Rob.
Yes. Good night, everybody. Appreciate you. See you next week.
Yeah.